But, but the results didn't go so well. Anyone who was on the door, not just you, anyone who was on the door could see that Nick, it was just a common thing of people saying, oh, we don't like your leader and all this sort of stuff, but we like you, we don't like your leader. In this borough, we got there was this campaign in this borough, we spent 50 grand in this borough. A lot of it was very personalised propaganda with Nick's face on everything, right? Very personalised around Nick, newspapers with him to encourage his celebrity status. He has got a bit of a celebrity status. And a very personalised campaign around Nick here, 50 grand. You know, that dwarfs anything we spent anywhere else. And the proportion was 38 grand in Barking, 12 grand in Yoram. He only got a relatively smaller, a relatively small margin between the two campaigns. But he had 12 grand, I know because I did the election expenses, 12 grand, 38 grand for the Barking part, 12 grand for the Dagenham part. That's a lot of money to spend on that campaign, and our vote went down compared to last time when we probably spent 2 grand, when Richard Barnbrook stood here like 4 years ago, 5 years ago was it. And we got 10,000 votes for the councillors who stood here, including Lawrence, Chris, myself, and possibly a few others here. I don't know. Don't know whether any other councillor candidates are here. But oh yeah, Joe. Did you see?
Oh, and Lee.
Oh, Lee. Yeah. We got 10,000 votes. Nick only got 6.5 in the same area. And all that, after all that personalised propaganda, it starts making you ask questions about, is he the best person to lead this party, is the public face of this party? He leads the party in a very personal way with his, you know, we're encouraged to think he's our big selling point. It actually became apparent to us, to most people I believe, he's not actually our best selling point. In some respects it may be uncomfortable to say this, for him to accept it, but I think he's probably our worst selling point in fact. And these factors, with the financial factors, the fact that we improved our vote marginally in the general election, but very marginally. The marginal increase in our general election performance from the last general election performance was so marginal that it would take us 500 years to get to power if we carry on increasing year on year at that same rate. That's how marginal our increase in vote was in the general election. And we've got, well, I was at a meeting in Tower Hamlets the other day, and someone produced some figures there that showed, these are from the official government statistics office. Sorry? The Office of National Statistics, is that right? Okay. They showed, this is a frightening thing, they showed on official figures that in 14 years' time, 14 years' time, 2024, people under 40 years of age, we will be a minority. In 14 years' time on official statistics. That shows what we have got up, we've got up against us. We can't afford to crawl forward. We can't afford to waste money. We can't afford any of this sort of stuff. We've got to have a real sense of urgency. We can't be complacent. I'll just tick along. Nick said, oh, I'll resign in 3.5 years at the beginning of 2014 because, you know, we can't afford this sort of complacency. We are seriously, very seriously up against it as a country. Absolutely. And as a people. Absolutely. We are looking, you know, that population, the under 40s, that, you know, that's the breeding population. You know, we are seriously up against it. And that's on their figures. Every figure that estimates these things that they've ever produced in the past has been an underestimate. Everyone they've said has been an underestimate. So it's probably, we haven't even probably got 14 years in reality. I saw Nick after the election. I sent a circular out that he probably thought was a bit provocative. And I said I wanted to bring people's attention that things must change. He agreed to meet me, and I met him on the morning of the advisory council meeting we had after the general election. And I said, look, I'd been sacked from it all by then, from the advisory council and all that, because he found out Dave Hannett, when this tape was produced, I was sacked, Emma Colgate was sacked, Mark Collett was sacked, and removed from positions because of what was on the tape, which was what Mark Collett talking to Dave Hannett about the finances. Now, I met him and I said, these are three issues, there are three key issues that have got to be addressed in this party to get it back on an even keel. Because I knew we're going to be facing big financial problems. I'll come on to that in a minute, what the financial problems are, but I knew it before from what I knew about the party. I said, we've got to have an independent internal investigation into the party's finances to give the party's finances a clean bill of health so people have the confidence to give. We've just come out of a bad general election where we're perceived to have been given a bit of a kick. People are always tired, they've always given all the money they can. There's lots of rumours about the money. You've got to clear it up and have an independent look at the finances and give it a clean bill of health. And he agreed straight away. Rather suspiciously, I have to say, agreed straight away. Then I said, look, there's recurring problems, there's schisms, there's squabbles every year. You're a good political leader, but it doesn't mean the same qualities are required to run the party as an administrator. And, you know, it's not unreasonable for you not to have all those skills and qualities. And we need to have a divorcing of the powers between the, say, a managing director of the party and the political head, which would be you. And he agreed to that straight away. Then I said, look, the other big problem, fundamentally, you've got too much baggage. We need a new face to lead the party on. You should be there to help nurture that new person, help find that new person as quickly as possible, help train that new person on the job, and then step to one side and get out of it because you're overshadowing the party in the sort of nature of his style of leadership. He's overshadowing it. He accepted my comparison. It's like a flower doesn't grow under a big tree or something. What's that slogan? Well, not slogan, that's saying. He accepted that. He said, yes, I quite understand. I should go 2 years before the European election to allow the new person time to grow into the role, but not too long for that new person to be smeared and start acquiring baggage for themselves. So, yeah, sensible. That would be like in 2 years from now, or 2 years from when that was a few months ago. That's sensible. There's no point having a squabble for the sake of 2 years with Nick divorcing the powers of the chairman from the managing director, allowing the party to breathe a bit, find this new person. It would be the ideal scenario, the ideal solution, I would suggest, for everybody, including himself. But, for whatever reason, next day was a separate meeting that Richard alluded to, that I went to, and I was banned from. And his attitude, we shook hands the day before, his attitude the next day was totally different. He'd obviously been talking about it with a few of his advisors. Maybe he just agreed readily with me there just to kiss me off, I don't know. But by the next day, he changed his mind on the whole lot. His attitude was completely different, wouldn't let me in this meeting that Richard referred to. And when he did that, really he left no other option but for there to be a leadership challenge to get these issues out into the open and to solve the immense problems this party has. Because this party is facing immense problems, let me tell you that. Financially, these appeals that we have, these appeal letters, we virtually, you must know these, we virtually don't raise, they cost about £5 a go to send out with the franking and the envelopes and the paper and the ink and the staff time. We've barely covering the cost of them to send them out. Now, you may have noticed, I think there's only been a few since the election, is they physically can barely afford even to send them out. It's like a gamble how much they're going to get back. Before, they could Jim Dowson doesn't know what he's doing with these, usually, before, but the trouble is he ramped up. In the ones in the run-up to the general election, it was all, we're going to make a breakthrough, this is going to be make or break, we're going to get through, we're going to sting through the barriers, we're going to get MPs. If you do these appeal letters and you write them in that way and you don't do what you say, then no one's going to give afterwards. It was a all or nothing tactic he was employing there. We ended up with nothing, and that's why they're not raising anything. They're trying to blame me for raising the issues and saying there's something wrong. The thing that's wrong is they ramped up people's expectations to get as much money out of people in the run-up to the general election. Now people are deflated, they're not going to give. It's as simple as that. There's very little money coming in on these appeals now.